you. I want to talk to you about things to do and things not to do when you're getting a mortgage. So, last night got an email from a client, just super nervous because his position changed at his employer, and was looking at my do's and don'ts, and I could just feel the anxiety in the email. And we had a conversation today. They are fine, but I will tell you, when it comes to do's and don'ts, we as lenders have to give blanket information and blanket tips, or else it just would make the mortgage process difficult for some people, and potentially have some people not be able to get a home. So if you're working with another lender, you want to make certain that you discuss any of these items if you're thinking about doing these items. And don't think that they won't find out even if you have your formal approval, because typically a few days prior to closing, you're still scanned to make certain that you haven't added any additional debts. So let me go through this. It'll be a little bit longer, and I'll be looking at my other screen to give you instances where you're going to get those it depends answers. One is, don't apply for additional credit. The reason for that is credit scores can be moved. They can be moved anywhere between 2 to 8 points. And depending on the type of financing, if you're right on the cusp, if you're at a 760 score and pricing becomes different if you're at a 759, that's the reason for saying that. It's not because the lender, well, I know for us, it's not because we're nervous that you're going to talk to other lenders. It's because we want to make certain that if credit score for your particular instance is important, that it doesn't get affected. Don't max out credit cards. So some approvals happen quickly. You get connected with a lender, you get your credit run, you get into contract within about 60 days, don't need a new credit report. Sometimes it doesn't happen, especially in this tight inventory market where your pre-approval may expire. You might find that it's 4, 5, 6 months later that you're back out there looking. And if you've maxed out a credit card, a big piece of credit scoring, besides how you pay your bills, is what you owe in relation to your high credit. So if you've maxed out a credit card, that in turn could reduce your credit score. Don't consolidate your debt. The reason for that is because your profile and your pre-approval profile was based on that moment in time. And that moment in time was based on what you owed on your particular credit cards. Now, if you go and you consolidate those credit cards, you ultimately might be maxing out a credit card. So again, have the discussion with your lender. Don't close any accounts. A small portion of your credit score is based on active credit. So credit that's being used, as well as the age of your credit. So if you have a credit card that's 10 or 15 years old, that's actually helping you, even if you don't use it that much, because in the age, it's an aged card. So it's a card that is good for you. Do not pay off collections or charge-offs. The reason for that is because when you pay off a derogatory account, now you've got brand new history on an account that was a derogatory account. And that derogatory account might be 2 or 3 years old. Again, these are items that you want to discuss with your lender. Don't transfer money between accounts. This one I always tell people, no, you could totally do that, especially if it's accounts that we can verify and that we can access. So transferring money between accounts is one of those things that I tell people, hey, on the do's and don'ts, as long as it's an account that we know about, completely okay that you do that. Don't withdraw or deposit large sums of money. Depending on the loan program, we have to document any cash that's above either a certain percentage or a certain dollar amount of your income. So when it's mattress money, or if you sold something, I'll give you for instance, I recently sold a piece of gym equipment for $550 cash. Now, if I was in the mortgage process, that would come up. Hey, what's going on with this? Or maybe it wouldn't. So again, depositing large sums of money can be a red flag if it cannot be documented. So documentation simply means, I've had people tell me, hey, I totaled a car and I got an insurance check. Okay, well, that's documentable if I'm making up my own words. So that's something that we can figure out. Withdrawing large sums of money could lead to, hey, are you taking on any additional expenses? What's going on here? Don't make any career moves. So that's the reason that it prompted this video. Client's position changed. The employer did not change. Position changed. Quality of life reason for doing it. Going to make about $3,000 less per year in salary. No-brainer move. Completely okay. The reason that we have this as advice is, let's say, for instance, that you are a W-2 commissioned employee. And let's say that you're a mortgage lender and you've worked in the mortgage industry for years, but you decide, hey, you know what? I want to be a broker and I'm going to be paid 1099 and I'm going to be self-employed. That is something that the lender is going to put the brakes and say, depending on the program, if you just did that, we don't have a way to give you a loan, or you're going to have to either wait 1 year or 2 years to have verified tax returns to verify your new self-employed income. So any career moves, you want to make certain that you let your lender know right away, because yes, those can impact your ability to get a mortgage. Don't let bank accounts go in the red. That can be problematic. That shows that you don't know how to manage your money. If you're having continual overdrafts or bank statements are showing that you've got a negative $200 balance, there's clearly an issue. There's an issue with how you're managing your finances, and that's something where, we got to tell you what you don't want to hear, but what you need to hear, that, hey, you've got to either reel in your spending or what is going on. So a good lender is going to want to look at that to make certain that that you're not going to have any issues. Naturally, you want to call a lender anytime these things come up. Don't have a friend or relative pay for the deposit on your home's appraisal, unless you have a discussion with your lender. Some loan products don't allow that, depending on who the person is that gave you those monies. So you definitely want to make certain that you're speaking to your lender. Don't keep cash in a safe or an overseas account. On an overseas account, here's my little asterisk, that's traceable money. It's a pain in the butt. I've had people use international money. It's a pain in the butt to document sometimes on figuring out the exchange and how it's coming from which country and whatnot. That can be used. If it doesn't need to be used, yes, less is more, and it can be a lot easier to not need to do that. So again, cash, we're being a little redundant in the do's and don'ts on that because cash can be problematic. Reason for that is, we're not the IRS police, but we want to make certain that that you're not a money launderer. There is still a lot of fraud that happens in banking, and every year we've got to take anti-money laundering training to make certain that people aren't committing fraud. And you want to make certain that you're not giving any of your personal information to anyone else while you're in the process of actively purchasing your home. So if you're, having second thoughts about your lender, be upfront with your lender. Hey, I know we're in contract, but I don't like X or X. I'm going to talk to some other folks. You want to also be 100% upfront with your realtor, because when you're in contract, you've got set days that you have to meet. You've got a mortgage contingency. You've also got your closing date. And if you have waived your mortgage contingency and you're deciding, hey, you know what, I'm having second thoughts about so-and-so, you want to make certain that you discuss that with your lender as well as your realtor. You want to make certain that you're not adding any additional debt. So when you were pre-approved for your home, that was based on certain numbers that are known as your debt to income ratio. That's another one of those it depends answers. So if your car breaks down or you have a major home expense that you have to pay for and or pay for it monthly, adding an additional debt, you want to have a conversation with your lender. I have had people take out new car loans and still be okay. There's jokes and memes on the internet from lenders saying like, hey, if you buy a car, do you want to sleep in it because you're not getting your house? A little sarcastic, But there are times where you can take on a new car loan and still be okay. So that's something that if you are going to take on additional debt, you want to make certain that you discuss that with your lender. This concludes do's and don'ts. Have you ever had a situation like this? I'd love to hear. Leave a comment. Please make sure to share this and like and surprise. You like that? Like and share this with those who you think will like this. Thanks.